I have to give him credit. I can't really say much about it. It speaks for itself. And I'm not doing this just because I want to suck up to Ferrari or anything. And we're back. Welcome to this month's installment of me. I'm back for a limited time only, and did I use that joke in the last video? Whatever, I don't care. So congratulations, I found it within myself the motivation to make another video. Today we're going to be going through a list of car brand logos, and we're going to be ranking them based on the way that they look from best to worst. Yes, we're doing a tier list. A few of you already are aware that I love cars and am very much a part of the car community. And I'm going to be counting this as one of my design videos because that's basically what we're going to be going over, the design of these logos. And in the case that you guys want to see me redesign any of these car logos, specifically the ones that, you know, suck, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you guys would like to see me do some redesigns for these car logos, let me know down in the comments. I think that'd be kind of interesting to do. Anyway, just small disclaimers, I will not be doing any sub-brands, like the Ford Mustang, for example, is considered a sub-brand. It has its own logo, as does like the Ford Bronco, for example, or Hyundai Genesis. Genesis is, well, a little bit complicated, but I'm not going to get into that. Now, obviously, I have a few exceptions in here that some people are going to argue about, like, for example, Infiniti or Acura, which are the luxury brands of Honda and Nissan. But I'm counting them because here in the US they're considered separate brands, so we're just gonna leave it as is. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into today's video. So starting off, I'm just gonna go ahead and list off the tiers. At the top we have Perfect. These are logos that I think really don't need any change whatsoever. They are amazing. Then we have Superb, which are like great logos in their own right. Maybe a tweak or two here and there would just be what makes them perfect. Pretty good means logos that, hey, the company did pretty decently on these, and I'm gonna go ahead and give them a pass. There's a few changes here and there that would make them just great, but this is good. Decent is logos that, sure, they're fine, but, you know, Meh is pretty much decent, but worse. It's just logos that are like, nothing special here. Bland is just a logo that it's got nothing interesting about it. You look at it and it's like, I'm not drawn to it whatsoever. And then what the fuck is this? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's, you look at a logo and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? Anyway, let's get right into the ranking. So first and foremost, we have Jeep. Now, obviously, freaking tier list thingamajiggy cuts off a lot of these pictures because some are too big and whatever. So I'm going to throw them on the screen so you guys can see what logos I'm looking at. Obviously, I can't see them full either, but I know what these logos look like. I'm a car guy. So first off, we have Jeep. And Jeep is already going to go into bland. It's got nothing to it. It's a boring logo. It literally just says Jeep in plain lettering with a stupid boring font. No, Jeep goes into bland. Oh, well, you can't even see it there. Oh yeah, forgot. These are transparent background logos. It doesn't matter. No one wants to look at Jeep anyway. Next up, we have Bugatti. Bugatti is a French car brand owned by Volkswagen, so it's basically also pretty German. But let's be real here. I mean, it's not the first time that France was ever German. Now, Bugatti is a very prestigious company known for making very, very, very fast cars. Their logo is not bad, actually. It's obviously the lettering, it's, you know, it's not really all that special and whatever, but, you know, at least it's got like some work around it. It's a red oval with red dots around it that are surrounded with a gray border. And then Bugatti's logo, which you can see on the car, the insignia specifically, which looks like the backward E and then the B, is actually kind of cool. I still don't know what the E is supposed to be, or if that's even supposed to be an E, and I'm too lazy to do research. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that Bugatti's logo, bro, I'm gonna go into pretty good. I think it's a fairly decent logo. And then obviously I'm also judging part of this off the insignia that goes on the car, which is that EB right there. So I think that it looks pretty cool and that, you know, it's better than Jeep. Next up, we have Suzuki. Suzuki is a Japanese car brand that does not sell cars in the United States anymore. And pretty much the S logo that goes on the insignia that goes on the cars, it just reminds me of that S that we all drew in middle school. It's not bad. It's decent. Yeah, but it's not that special either. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a meh. Next up, we have Chevy, and given that I'm a filthy Ford fanboy, I'm probably slightly biased here. But I'm going to go ahead and try to push down my bias and just focus on the logo and not how atrocious Chevy's cars are. Chevy's logo is actually pretty decent, and I like their insignia. You know, I'm not fully sure what it's supposed to mean, but it looks nice. It's different. At least it's not just the word Chevy. I'm going to give them that. What I also kind of appreciate is that Chevy hasn't gone for the minimalistic look that most logos are going for nowadays, which I am a very minimalistic guy, especially when it comes to how I dress. I really don't like anything that flashy because it draws too much attention, and I hate attention on myself. But when it comes to logos and for brands and stuff, I feel like the minimalism is going a little too far. Sure, some of them look way better when they're minimalistic, but some really don't. So I'm going to give Chevy some credit there. Their logo still looks like it has some life to it, some dimension. I'm going to go ahead and put Chevy's in pretty good, actually. I think it's a pretty good logo. I like it. Next up, we have Audi. Obviously, Audi's logo looks like it's just supposed to be some smaller version of the Olympics logo. Obviously, I know that was not the intention. I'm making jokes here. But it's simple. I like the looping circles. But, you know, it's nothing too special. It's just kind of cool, you know. I'm going to put it in decent. Next up, we have Ram, which is an American car company that used to be the truck division of Dodge. And actually, the Ram logo used to be Dodge's logo. Now, the Ram logo is pretty straightforward. It's called Ram. It has a ram head on it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of credit for being different. And, you know, the insignia that you see on the trucks, it's cool. You know, I'll give it to it. I'm going to go at pretty good. No, that's a lie. I'm going at decent. Next up, we have Volkswagen. This is Volkswagen's newest logo, which has followed the minimalistic trend. So now it's black and white, and it's not blue and white. And for that, I'm docking points. Yeah, it's following the minimalistic trend, and the logo kind of works for it, but again, it makes it look flat. I'm going to give them credit because I like the way they stack the V and the W to make Volkswagen, and it's not just like next to each other like a lot of brands tend to do. So I'll give Volkswagen a meh. It's the way that they're like stacking it and organizing the logo that's keeping me from putting it in bland with Jeep. Next up, we have Acura, which is the luxury brand for Honda. But yes, in the US, they're sold as separate brands, so Acura. Now, the Acura logo is interesting. It's not like your simple letter A. It looks kind of like an arrowhead, but it also kind of looks like the tip of a ballpoint pen. To me, the sharp designs and the sharp lines kind of just give you a sense of speed, aerodynamics. And some Acura cars are known for being fast. I mean, if you look at the Acura NSX, supercar. Based on these things, I'm going to give Acura some credit because it's not simple. You could definitely dissect the logo a bit and get some meaning out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put Acura at pretty good. Yeah, it's transparent background. Ignore that. Next up, we got Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo is an Italian car brand. And when you look at Alfa Romeo's logo, it's not bad. It's a circle. It kind of reminds you of the BMW logo. Sure, for those of you who know what the BMW logo looks like, we're going to get to that one in a little bit. But Alfa Romeo was founded first. They started using this logo organization first. So technically BMW is the one that's copying here. Alfa Romeo's logo does kind of look like it's sort of like a coat of arms or a seal. You got the cross and then, of course, the snake, or maybe it's a dragon. Probably a dragon. And then the words Alfa Romeo up on top. What I like here about Alfa Romeo is that they too, just like Chevy, did not decide to go full on minimalist here. This is a logo I think would not work with the minimalism. The colors here are very important. I'm going to go ahead and put Alfa Romeo at superb. They have kind of crafted and improved and tweaked on their logo over the years. I have looked back at the history. If I can find the picture, I'll throw it up on screen. And it has gotten better as time has gone on. So I'm going to go ahead and just put them at superb. And if you disagree with me, well, it sucks to suck. Next up, we have Aston Martin. And Aston Martin being a British car brand, which I do respect. I love Aston Martins. This is going to start a trend with logos that I'm going to hate. And I don't know what it is with the UK and doing this, but get your shit together. So we have Aston Martin here having the wings logo, and they are very nice. I do like them, and this is the trend that's being started here. Why is it that like every British car brand has wings on their logo? Out of all of them, this is my favorite. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Aston Martin at superb as well. This is a great logo. The wings look very, very nice. Contrast of the flat grays, and then, of course, the shiny gradient grays and whites that are within the lines. And I really, really like that. Next up, we have Subaru. Subaru's logo is a bunch of stars in a blue circle, which if you don't know the backstory behind the logo, then obviously it's going to just be a little bit weird. Especially since these stars are not symmetrical or anything whatsoever. They're just kind of there. There are 5 small 4-pointed stars along with 1 large 4-pointed star. But there is a story behind this, and me being an astronomy lover it's really cool for me. Subaru's logo is a representation of the Pleiades star cluster that you can see in the sky. It's a cluster of blue stars, which means that they're very young because, and here's a quick astronomy lesson, blue stars are very, very hot. They're some of the hottest stars in the universe. And when it's that hot, it means that it burns through its fuel very rapidly. So a blue star, in universe terms, doesn't remain blue for very long. Only a few million to billion years. Which, yes, it's a long time, but, you know, in universe terms, that's very, very short. So this is a very, very young star system, and the name Subaru is the Japanese name for the Pleiades cluster. So the whole thing is just one big astronomy space thing, and I freaking love it, and you're going up into perfect. Next up, we have Bentley, another British car brand with wings. Now, people are going to get pressed about this one, but I don't really like these wings all that much. Sure, they're ornate, and they have some detail to them, and it's a logo that's been around for a while. I feel like the circle with the big B in the middle, though, is kind of throwing me off and making them feel just It feels just fat. I don't know how else to say it. It just feels wrong, out of place almost. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in. To be honest, I'm gonna put it in pretty good. Just because it's really only that B that's throwing me off. The rest of it is pretty detailed and very nice. Next up, we have the BMW logo. This is BMW's newest logo. And compared to the old one, it's a minimalistic approach. And I prefer the old one. This is when we reach a point of too minimalistic. You don't have much you're looking at here. Really, the only thing that pops out at you are the 2 blue quarter circles. That's it. The rest of it is pretty kind of boring to look at. But it's not Jeep boring. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in meh. Next up, we have Lincoln. Lincoln's logo is not the most special, and they've also tried going for a minimalistic approach recently. It's not like their logo ever had that much detail to it, but like it's just a little bit flatter than it used to be. I'm gonna put Lincoln in decent. It's not bad, it's just not great. Next up, we have Honda. Honda is a Japanese brand, very well known for making smaller cars, except very recently. I don't know what the hell monstrosity the Civic turned into. As for their logo, Honda's logo has remained similar for the past 10-ish, 15 years. Before that, they had a logo with wings on it, or with a wing on it, which personally was not my favorite, but I think, in my opinion, it was better than what they have now. The problem with Honda's logo now is that it is a little bit bland. It's just an H. Sure, the H looks a little bit different, and it's not like your plain normal H. It obviously has the 2 longer lines up on top versus the 2 shorter lines on the bottom, but that's not enough to make it fully interesting to me. I'm going to put Honda at a meh. Next up, we have Daihatsu. Now, Daihatsu is not going to be a brand that most people watching me probably know. Given that I barely get any views, most of you are probably from the US. Most of you are also probably people I know personally. Thank you for being here. Daihatsu is a Japanese brand that I am not sure if they ever sold cars in the US, but I know they still sell cars and other forms of vehicles in Japan. I mean, it looks like a door. It looks like a car door. And I'm going to give him credit for that because, you know, it's cool. It's different. It's unique. It was smart. I'm going to go ahead and put Daihatsu at a pretty good. There's obviously some tweaks that could probably be made, but it's not bad. Next up, we have Buick. Buick is an American car brand owned by General Motors. Buick has the 3 shields on their car logo that are in sort of a stacked/stepped organization. A red, a white, and a blue shield. I think the only thing that I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that it's wrapped in a circle. I don't know what I would rather wrap it in, but for some reason the circle is kind of throwing me off on the design. But it's not bad. I think I'm going to put Buick at a pretty good. Next up, we have Isuzu. It's pretty much just as boring as Jeep. I mean, it's nothing too special. It's just letters. Next up, we have Cadillac. And Cadillac's logo, it was never my favorite, but this is their newest one, which they released, I don't know, a few years ago now. And actually, I don't think it's that bad. I've never been a fan of the way that their colors sort of clash, even though they don't really, because they're all primary colors. So they do mesh together fairly decently. But I feel like the tone and the saturation of the yellow that they chose just isn't right for me. But I do also like the orientation that they chose to go with here. It looks like a shield. That's probably what it's supposed to be. And then obviously the chrome accents to it and the fact that they did not go minimalistic, thank you Cadillac, it suits it very well. So I'm going to actually put Cadillac in superb. I think it's a very good logo. Next up we have Dodge. And I'm not going to bash on Dodge too much because it's a fairly good company and I really love the Viper. Hey Dodge. But what I think is wrong here is that their logo, and this has been their logo for a while now, is just a bit too minimalistic. Sure, they didn't decide to go flat with their lettering. It's still got some chrome looks to it. It's not just one flat color, which I appreciate. But it's just the word Dodge and then with 2 red slashes. It lacks a bit of detail for me, and for that I think I'm just gonna put it at meh. I still prefer it over Jeep and Isuzu, let's be real here. Next up we have Ferrari, and I cannot bash on Ferrari too much or they're going to send me a cease and desist. Ferrari's logo is actually pretty cool. I like the font that they decided to go with for the lettering. It's very, very nice, and obviously the top bar for the F going across the entire word Ferrari is a nice subtle design choice. The horse, of course, is iconic, and then the colors of the Italian flag at the top actually work fairly well with the bright yellow of the rest of it. I think it's a very nice logo. The fact that they also went with a rounded rectangle instead of like the sharp corners of a normal rectangle, I think it's just a very, very subtle design choice that was a good idea. I'm gonna go ahead and put Ferrari at, yeah, I'll throw it at perfect actually. Yeah, it's a perfect logo. Next up we have Fiat. Fiat's logo isn't bad. I'll give them some credit for not going flat and for having like the chrome accents, but I feel like they're in the wrong spot. If you guys have ever seen like a wax seal for a letter, which most people really don't do ever anymore, it's kind of something that you would see in like old letters and the olden days and whatever. But that's kind of what this logo reminds me of. It's got the thicker edges and then like the flatter part in the middle. And then the lettering in the logo for Fiat it looks strange. I'm gonna put Fiat I'm gonna put it at decent, just because I enjoy that it's not a fully fledged minimalistic design and it has a little bit of flair to it. Next up we have Ford. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I am a Ford fanboy. I like a lot of Fords actually, but I will professionally look at this logo equally as I would the rest of them. It's not all that special of a logo. It's timeless to say, because it's just about the same logo they've had for quite a while now. Obviously with quite a few tweaks and changes. Ford went against the minimalistic trend. Granted, the minimalistic trend only started a few years back, but they originally had a minimalistic flat design, and they decided to go ahead and to give it a little bit more kick. Instead of going for a flat blue, they went for a gradient. So it goes from a dark blue at the bottom to a lighter blue at the top. And it does kind of give it a 3D effect. Subtleties like this make or break a logo. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to put Ford's at... I'm going to put it at superb. Next up is GMC. Now GMC's is plain and boring. It's just letters. But they have not gone the minimalistic route. Theirs is not flat. But I'm going to put them in meh. It's not bland, but it's not really decent either. Next up is Infiniti, Japanese car brand and the luxury division of Nissan. Now, Infiniti's logo looks like a mountain, and given that it's a Japanese brand, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Mount Fuji. Either way, it's not all that interesting of a logo. But in the case that it is actually supposed to be a mountain, which is what I'm going to go ahead and assume it is, you could obviously assume that there's a lot of meanings behind it. This is a kind of logo where I can appreciate simplicity if it has meaning. And given that I don't know what the meaning is, it doesn't give me a lot to work with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put Infiniti as it stands, me not really knowing anything about it and just looking at the insignia, it's really just kind of a meh for me. And yeah, transparent picture, whatever. Next up we have Hyundai, or Hyundai. Hyundai's logo is weird. Obviously you can see it's kind of an H, but it also looks like a backwards N. Of course, looking at it, it's not all too special. It's got an oval surrounding it like a lot of car logos do nowadays. I'm gonna go ahead and put Hyundai at a meh. Next up we have Jaguar, which obviously has a Jaguar on it, and I am already giving them points for the fact that it is a British car brand that doesn't have wings. Now, Jaguar's logo is just the word with a pretty decent, slightly compressed font. And then the Jaguar, which I like the fact that they at least put it in like a leaping position. Because some logos for other things be having them just standing there. Like, come on, like, make it cool. And then obviously when it shows up on the car, you have, for like the more fancy Jaguars, you have the Jaguar that's leaping in front on like the little statuette thingy. I'll give them some credit and the fact that they didn't flatten this. So I'm going to go ahead and put Jaguar at pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Next up we have Koenigsegg, a Swedish hypercar manufacturer. I am a Koenigsegg fanboy. I will say it. I love Koenigsegg's. They're great cars. They are fantastic cars. The engineering that goes into those vehicles is mind-blowing. So for Koenigsegg's logo, it's not my favorite. When it appears on the cars, it appears in all silver. It doesn't have all the colors. Now, the colors obviously work with each other. They are, as I said with Cadillac's logo, they are our primary colors. And that works. I just feel that it just still looks strange. It feels almost like there's a little too much happening. Even though the colors work with each other, it feels off. I'm going to put Koenigsegg at a decent, just because that is kind of throwing me off. Now, next up we have Lamborghini. Lamborghinis is cool. It's not a flat, minimalistic design like a lot of other car brands are going for. It still has shadow and depth to the bull, and I'm going to give them credit there. And it looks nice. It's a charging bull. And the fact that they just went with gold and black is a very nice contrast. It's a very bright color with a very, very dark tone. And that just, it makes it pop. The font for Lamborghini is a bit bland. But then, you know, I'm not going to take off too much points for that because, you know, it's Lamborghini. And the rest of the logo kind of speaks for it. So I'm going to put Lamborghini at superb. I think it's a really good logo. Next up we have Chrysler. American luxury car brand. And Chrysler's logo is interesting. It's an American car brand with wings. Their old logo I was not a fan of. This new one took a more simplistic approach, but still giving it a little bit of depth. But when you look at it, you can't really tell it's supposed to be wings. It either looks like it's supposed to be a mustache or just some random chrome bar with tiny, tiny print Chrysler in the middle with like a blue surrounding it. So Chrysler is gonna go at, I'm gonna put it at decent. It's decent. It's decent. Next up we have Mazda, and given that I own a Mazda, screw you all, it's perfect. can't stop me. Next up is Mercedes, very well-known German car brand. And Mercedes's logo slash insignia has been around for years. The three-spoked star has been around since 1909. It's a very simplistic design, but it's not flattened like a lot of designs have been going for in recent years. And I'm going to give them credit there. It still has the chrome look to it. I have to give it credit just for the fact that it's stuck around for a long time. And by this point, that logo, it holds a lot of meaning. It holds weight. And people recognize it. Even if they're not into cars, it's a recognized logo. You got to give them credit there. So I'm going to put it at superb just for the notoriety. Next up, we have Mitsubishi with the 3 diamonds. Mitsubishi as a company has made a lot of questionable choices, and I'm not going to go into that because that's not what this video is about. Their logo is a very simple design. It's got 3 red diamonds that are stacked sort of in a star-like shape. But I mean, that's kind of all you're getting. I'm probably going to put Mitsubishi's logo in meh. It doesn't scream interesting to me. Next up, we have Nissan. This is their newest logo that they just released just a few months back. I think it's an improvement over their old one because their old one was a little clunky. And yes, this one's going for the minimalistic design, but I'll give them credit that they pulled it off kind of right. And I think that personally, I wouldn't put it on meh because I think it's definitely better than Hyundai or Mitsubishi or GMC. But I would not put it at pretty good, so I'm going to have to fit it into decent. Even though I'm still questioning that one a little bit. Next up, we have Renault. Renault is a French car brand that is known to Europeans, of course, for making economy cars. They don't sell cars in the US anymore. Who knows if they ever will. And this is their newest logo as well, which doesn't move away from the original too much, except, of course, this is, again, a minimalistic approach. It does look a lot flatter than the original logo because it, as well as a lot of car brand logos before, had the chrome look to it, in which it had depth. And for some, it works greatly, and for some, it doesn't. In this case, for Renault's, I think both the minimalistic and the chrome look worked for it. What I like about this new one is that they added the extra line in the center, in this case the black line, which is just the same color as the background, and it just gives it a little bit more detail. Even though it's a very, very minimal, subtle detail, I think that extra addition and making the rest of it pretty much just look like some white lines that are wrapped around each other, I just think it looks good. So I'm going to put it at pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Next up, we have Kia. This is Kia's newest logo, which they revealed just a few weeks ago, I think. This is an insane improvement over their old logo. Their old logo sucked. It was boring. This is cool. I like this one. Yes, it looks like it's just some cool font, but it looks good. This is a cool, more aggressive logo. I'm throwing this one up at pretty good already. Next up, we have Opel, which is a German car brand. Now, their logo is pretty much just a bolt. It looks kind of like the Flash's lightning bolt that is overlapping a circle in the background. And it's very simplistic. It's always been simplistic. It's kind of cool. It's it's just a little bit different. Sure, it's kind of boring, doesn't have much to look at, but it's interesting, but I mean, compared to like some of these other ones, it's just kind of meh though. Next up, we have Mini, continuing the trend with British car brands and having wing logos. Sure, the wings here look different, as in, I mean, boring, and the logo lacks a lot of detail, and in a very boring Calibri looking font, it just says Mini in the middle, and it's not interesting, and it's boring, and it's bland. I'm sorry, it's bland. Next up, we have Pagani. Pagani is an Italian supercar manufacturer that was founded by an Argentinian man named Horacio Pagani. Now, Pagani's logo is, it's a little interesting. I'm going to dock a few points for Pagani for having the letters be the same color as the background, which kind of makes them hide a little bit. Sure, because they look elevated and there's some shadow, you can read it, but it just makes it a little harder to see. what it says, just because they're the same color as the background. In fact, most of the logo slash insignia is the same color. It's just all chrome. Yes, it has details in the form, but it needs a little bit of color to work with it. It has that tinge of blue, but that's just not enough. So for Pagani, I'm gonna put it at decent. Next up we have Porsche. And yes, it is Porsche, not Porsche. I don't care if you come at me and you start mocking me for pronouncing it correctly, freaking Americans. Porsche's logo, first off, the font is good. I really like the font. I talk about fonts a lot in this video. Jesus. Now, it kind of has that Cadillac effect, which I can say that because Cadillac came first. Obviously has the shield shape with the checkered design with then, of course, the two patterns. And then what I also like, though, is it has a smaller shield shape with a horse in the middle. And I think just that detail works very well. What I like about this one better than Cadillac is that it does not have the blue. If Cadillac didn't have the blue, I feel like it actually probably would have worked a little bit more for me. The blue in Cadillac's logo is very minimal, but it's enough to make it feel slightly off. With Porsche's, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like there's too many colors in it at once, and I appreciate that. And plus, you know, they haven't really touched the logo that much. They've kind of tried to keep it looking classic, and I'm going to give them that. So for Porsche, I'm actually going to put it at superb. I think it's a great logo. Next up, we have Volvo, the Swedish automaker. Now, most of you are going to notice that it is the symbol for males, but the symbol also has other meanings. First off, it's also the symbol for Mars, the Roman god of war, but it also represents iron. So when the people behind Volvo decided to use this symbol as their logo, it's because they wanted to show that they wanted to give their company a look of strength, which I think is a fairly cool story. And the fact that they went ahead and decided to go ahead and add some blue behind the word Volvo, I want to give them a little bit of credit for that, because they didn't keep it down to just the chrome color. They decided to add just a little bit of taste to it. I'm going to give them some credit there. Plus, it's not flat and minimalistic. Thank you. Volvo, I think, is a decent logo. Finally, lastly, after 42 logos, we have Toyota. Now, Toyota's logo follows the pretty generic oval design that a lot of logos have decided to go ahead and take. Toyota's logo, when you look at it, it doesn't really fully look like a T, so then you kind of end up a little bit confused. What's it supposed to be? There are three overlapping ovals, the big one and then the two small ones. And after the slight research that I did, pretty much it's supposed to mean the unification of the hearts of not only Toyota, but also the customers and the products. Sure, it's a nice meaning, but personally I think it looks a little weird, a little bland, and it's, I don't know, it's just a little strange personally, in my opinion. It's different, and I like the fact that there's a meaning behind it. It's got a bit more to work with than, say, Honda or Dodge or GMC, so I'm definitely putting it in decent, but I think it still lacks something. And finally, we went through all of them. Jesus, that was a lot. This is going to take forever to edit. Obviously, I did not include any car brands that are no longer around or that have been discontinued. For example, Pontiac is a good example, or Plymouth. So these are all car brands that are still around. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on them post notifications. Follow me on all my social medias, my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Twitch. Join my Discord server. All those links are down in the description. If you guys want to see me do any redesign videos of some of these logos, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Let me know through Twitter DMs or something. And then I will, of course, try to accommodate to that. Anyway, I hope that wherever you guys are, whenever you guys are watching this video, you have a great and wonderful day. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.